Welcome, everybody. My name is Kent. Joined today with Grandma. Hello, Grandma.
Hello, Kent.
Hello, hello. We again left it with a cliffhanger last time. What do you think about the last pandemic, Grandma?
Oh, yeah, it was a big hoax again. I don't know what their plans are, but they are scaring people with a lot of stuff. You know, the green new scam, and this time everyone was going to die from a virus. And yeah, I didn't buy that at all. We had viruses in the world for thousands of years, and we also learned in school that viruses, they always mutate and die from themselves. So no, I was not scared at all, but I was very shocked to see how people was reacting to this. How about you?
How do you think this compared to the last times? Because we have been in this situation before, and
You mean with the swine flu, or do you
yeah,
mean yeah?
maybe a lightweight version, maybe.
Yes, yes. Maybe they tried to pull off the same thing then, because some people were scared also then. But it kind of died out of itself. And but this time they was how to see they were stepping up the scare. They called it SARS-CoV-2, or yes, and people I try to say this is an influenza, like all 100 times before.
Yeah, because this is a little strange.
Yes.
Because when this last pandemic happened, we had no more influenza here in Norway.
No,
Everything was labeled
because COVID
pandemic
was
and
the
nothing was influenza. It was like
yeah,
the
yeah,
influenza didn't happen this year. It was
yeah.
cured. How do you
Because
think this
COVID
happens?
was the influenza. Yeah.
Can you see
This
it another way? Also, for the people that don't agree with us,
yeah.
also is it
Yeah.
another way to see it, or is it?
This time it was man-made. And maybe the swine flu also was man-made. Uh, what is clear is that COVID, or SARS-CoV-1, 2, and stuff, they are man-made viruses. It was made it was made originally in America, and Obama in 2014, he said, no, this work is too dangerous for the world, so I want to stop it. And they did stop some of it, but that research who was already granted funding was not stopped. So they literally was shipping the pathogens from North Carolina to Wuhan, China, and they continued this research there. And from there, they let it out.
Where did you find the documentation for this?
And hearings in the American Congress. You can find documentation about this. There's a lot of documentation about this. It's not a dispute anymore that it came from the lab in Wuhan. And also, I think that the Chinese communist regime, they was releasing this virus to destroy Trump's previous presidency, and in cooperation with the deep state in America. That's
How do you think
how
this
I
relates to the governments of the world, especially in the West, pretty much at the same time coming out with the same response and the same answers? How does this compare versus what you
yeah.
say now?
Yeah, what basically happened was this. It was coming, these reports from China. It was Xi Jinping, he was most likely releasing it during the military Olympics in the autumn in 2019. But the task force was set in the White House in December of 2019. And on that task force was Dr. Anthony Fauci, for example. And he was sitting there in the White House as part of the task force, and he knew where the virus came from. He knew that he was funding that research. He knew everything about it, and he didn't say nothing. And also, they claimed it was very deadly, very dangerous, and stuff like this. And from there came the orders of lockdowns and everything like this. And in bed with Fauci and the rest of that deep state actors there was and is the WHO, World Health Organization, with Mr. Tedros leading.
And who is the sponsor of WHO?
Bill Gates is the biggest one.
A private
Absolutely biggest
individual.
one. Yeah.
And who owns the? So is it official? Is it a UN or is it privately
No,
owned?
it's a private organization funded by a lot of countries, with America as the biggest one. And as we all know now, Trump, he was leaving the WHO because he knows they was tricking him the last time. So, but what happened was that the task force in the White House gave the orders to WHO, and from there went orders for all the member states around the world, including Norway. So you can say that Dr. Fauci was deciding to lock us up and telling us to stay home in our living room. And yeah, it was devastating.
Because it's strange to see. We have talked in previous episodes about the face diapers, which it doesn't prevent disease. It's a practical symbol that you're sick. Why do you think they would make us wear these face diapers, and why do you think some of us rejected it?
What is a fact when it comes to psychology is that if people get very scared, the ability to think logical just disappears. And this was happening to people. And to jack up the numbers, they was using this test called PCR, which is not made for diagnosing anything. So
who said this?
the inventor of the PCR said this. He said it's not made to diagnose anything. It's not possible to use this for diagnose, but this they were using. I remember very early on, Elon Musk, he was going to 5 different places to take the test, and he was positive in 2 places and negative in 3 places. And then he pulled out one pineapple, putting that stick in a pineapple, and the pineapple had COVID. It was many episodes like this. But it didn't help. It did not help at all, because people were so scared. They just believed everything they was told. All the lies they were told, they believed. And in the beginning, Dr. Fauci said loud and clear that face masks will not be able to stop any airborne virus. And it's not. And at the same time, was pictures from the Wuhan lab in the news, where we saw how people there were dressed to keep the virus out, with oxygen tanks in the back, and we were supposed to believe that face masks prevent airborne viruses. But then suddenly he flipped, and he said, face masks, you have to wear face masks. And who was benefiting from this? I think Fauci, he was promising to Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist regime that they would make a lot of money from this, because it was them who was producing all these face masks and tests and PPE, like they called it.
We also see in Norway that the guy on TV, he also got rich from this, yes?
Yes. Some people, yeah. It's like they say, when the rain drops on the priest, no, when it rains on the priest, it will also come some drops on his second guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was what happened.
Why do you think some of us didn't wear it and took all of the heat?
Yeah. In my case, I knew that these masks couldn't stop any airborne virus. It was all a lie, and it was like walking on another planet to see people with these masks. And I was also trying to say that this mask thing was putting people in greater jeopardy, because people was putting on this mask and they was thinking, I'm protected, so they didn't keep the distance in the shop, for example. So, and you could go on an overloaded bus if you had a mask.
But we
So
went from masks to vaccinations.
Yeah.
That's a big step.
Yeah. It was a big step.
And I find it a controversial theme today also, because most people here, at least, they took the vaccines.
Yeah.
And some people think it's okay, and some people have gotten sick, and some people,
Yeah.
uh,
Millions have died from these vaccines, which they call vaccines, but they are not vaccines. Um, not in the scientific term for vaccines.
can you please
Yeah.
explain this a little, please?
Yeah.
While explaining, it's important to let the audience know that we are amateurs.
Yes. Yes,
Yes,
we are.
amateurs.
Hmm. Yeah.
And this is only for entertainment purposes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. We are amateurs, but we can read.
Mm.
We can read reports and
Sometimes at least.
yeah, we can go to Google and ask Google or Grok or Chat GPT. We are able to go there to ask, give me the scientific definition for a vaccine.
Mm.
It's not hard. Everyone can do that, and it will come up in 1 second what the definition is. And the definition is they take a dead or mostly dead pathogen from the virus, and they inject it in the arm, for example. And uh, it's supposed to stay in the arm. Normal vaccines do that for the most part, to stay in the arm and to trigger the body to make a immune response from this, to trigger the body to think I have this virus and I have to fight it. That's the scientific.
And what was the difference now between pretty much every vaccine for the pandemic and other vaccines?
Yeah, the difference is this mRNA, messenger RNA,
Hmm.
and also them they promised it will stay in the arm, but it don't. It goes to all the body, and um, instead of telling the body to produce an immune response, that messenger is telling the body um, to produce this spike protein, and this spike protein is it was and is what is causing COVID-19, causing you to feel ill from COVID-19.
Hmm.
So, but again, we are not scientists. We are not. But when it first came up, this with the vaccine, I was skeptic because to make one vaccine in the duration of 8 months, I was thinking, no, that's not possible. So
Have they
I knew
made
from
the
the
vaccines
beginning,
before in this time?
no,
How long time do they usually spend to making a soundproof vaccine?
8 to 10 years with,
So 10 times as long.
yeah, with the research and the testing and the adjustments and everything. 8 to 10 years is a normal procedure. And also making a vaccine against virus who's going on is also not possible, because viruses from nature's side, they mutate all the time. They mutate and mutate and mutate. That's why we was hearing suddenly we had the Delta variant, and then we had this variant, and then we had Omicron variant. That's from the mutation. So it's not possible to make a vaccine while the virus is active.
When we look at it today, though, we have made some experiences, I think, everybody, both unvaccinated and vaccinated. It seems to be that the normal people pays the price every time. And they put us up against each other. And don't blame the politicians if they get sick, or they blame us, which just were skeptical about this and didn't want to take a experiment. And where do we go from here?
I think many people understand now that this was at least part of it was a scam. Many people understand this. But I think it's very uncomfortable for people to admit that they were wrong. And for example, let's say I'm unvaccinated and I meet someone who is vaccinated. People didn't even draw the logical conclusion that I'm vaccinated myself, so I'm protected, because they said it was very effective, So even that logical conclusion, people was not able to come to. And
I think this is worth mentioning again, Grandma.
Yeah.
This point you just made. Can you please tell it again, please?
What danger I would be to a vaccine?
I'm thinking the point. I got a brain freeze now.
Okay. Yeah.
Just go.
I was asked. I remember I was asked. Are you going to get vaccinated? And at that time I said, I have not made up my mind yet. I want to look more into it, I said. And that person said to me, I got vaccinated to protect my father. And this was very early on when the vaccines came. And it sort of fell out of my mouth. What? Is your father not vaccinated? Yes, he was. And I was almost going to say, yeah, but you will not be protecting your father with getting vaccinated yourself when he is vaccinated from before. But in the moment I was going to say this, I understood that this logical conclusion was not present. And it was totally impossible to get through to anyone. Totally impossible.
So again, can we find a way forward together and not blaming each other? You think?
Yeah.
How can this road be?
again, we have to get back to truth and to nature, because um, the way humanity have dealt with viruses for thousands and thousands of years is herd immunity, like they did in Sweden. In Sweden, their top health official, he said, we are not going to lock down anything. We are going to try to protect our elderly and our vulnerable, and let the people create herd immunity. I think they was probably the only country in Europe who was doing it like this.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And what was the results of this?
The result, of course, was the lowest death rate in all Europe.
Hmm.
That was the result.
What do you think about another round? You think it will become another round with number 25 or 30 or something like this?
Yeah, maybe they will try again. I will not be surprised if they do. And I'm not confident that I'm not confident at all that people will react differently. Sadly to say so, but I'm not. And yeah.
What do you hope the next time then for the people?
You know that story about the boy who was crying wolf many times?
Yeah,
And
childhood story, yeah.
yeah, and at last people didn't believe him.
Hmm.
I think maybe, I hope this had some kind of effect to that extent. I hope so, because COVID was not more deadly than a normal flu. They were only driving up the death toll with yeah, they was putting people in ventilators and stuff like this. Like in Norway, for example, in 2017, it was a quite nasty flu, and more than 3,000 people died. Elderly and vulnerable people, of course. And a lot of people die from the flu every year who is elderly and vulnerable.
Is it
And
around
COVID was,
1,000 or something?
yeah, between 1,000 and 3,000 every year.
Yeah.
And deaths from COVID was a lot lower than this. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they will be able to lead on the society like this again. I'm not sure. But we have to stand the ground. Us who didn't buy their lives the first time, we just have to continue to not buy their lives.
Yeah, but I think we pretty much have put the line in the sand and will follow that. I hope
Yeah,
it's more people the next time.
yeah, I hope so too.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Other
we can
countries
hope.
maybe had percentage that was more skeptical of the government, but I think it was 93% or something that took the first vaccine here.
Yeah, and
Other
it dropped.
countries had
Yeah,
not that. Uh,
yeah, yeah. It dropped very quickly because people got injured, and
mm,
there's not one person on the planet, or at least in the western side of the in the West, who do not know someone who is injured or dead from the vaccine. Not one person. So, but I think they will be scared to say it out loud, that I'm not going to be fooled again. I think it will be more like they silently walk away from it, like they did with the boosters. The numbers was dropping very quickly. So, but of course, Pfizer and Moderna and all the people they was paying off, they made their money. They did. And Xi Jinping, Xi Jinping in cooperation with the deep state in America was destroying Trump's presidency. And yeah, they got more control over the people in general. So maybe they achieved their goal with this.
Yeah, it's interesting to see.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
from us, locally here in Norway, you have high hopes?
No, when you see the vaccine rate, I'm not so hopeful, to be sincere. But from the beginning, I was vocal about this, that I didn't take the vaccine. I just said, no, I'm not taking an experimental drug who is not even tested.
One of the
It's out of the
reasons I
question.
didn't take it was I had a conversation with our mutual friend that passed away. And I mentioned to him that I find a page, a government, as a company that delivers information to the governments called Deagle. And a lot of people listening to this knows what I'm talking about now, because this Deagle report said that there are going to be a lot of countries that a lot of people are going to die. And it said that by such and such time, we would have millions less here in Norway. And I couldn't understand why. And it's possible it's just nonsense. I don't know. I am an amateur. But at least it made me skeptical. A so-called conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
So again, when you put several things together, I didn't take it, at least. Me neither. But we were few. Hopefully next time we will, more of us won't take it.
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully, yes.
Any closing points on this subject, Rama?
Yes, we have to, I think, we have to be aware of, for example, what we call the deep state is what Trump is calling deep state, and they just brush us off, with all the slander they use. I think we have to be more aware that this is real, because with COVID, suddenly we found ourselves locked up in the house, and yeah, couldn't do anything we wanted. And that was decided from a very few people in Washington, which is part of this, what someone called the deep state.
The point you're making now is very interesting. It's that how America, the US, influences our everyday life.
Yeah, absolutely. Our everyday life, from our money system till what we are eating, especially medication.
Mm.
Most of that comes from America. And
It's a big
now
topic,
we have a
though.
war also.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's a big topic. So maybe a conversation for next time, maybe.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. We can say so.
Thank you for today, Grandma.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you for the audience for listening to us. See you guys
See
later.
you next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.